yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Trust and pray your Monday is looking marvelous already as we invite you to be a part of a discussion with our friends from the Family Resource Center until 1 p.m. Then some open line until the scheduled press briefing at 2. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to partner with us in the Family Resource Center Rethink Parenting Program. We're focusing on a number of things. I'll get them to tell us about it. But hey, how do we balance, working remotely, homeschooling? A lot of interesting things are being shared with us. Well, on the phone, Mr. Andre Bailey, the program facilitator at the Family Resource Center. Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sterling. Thank you for having me today.
All right. Well, thank you so much, for being a part of this ongoing discussion as part of our rethinking program. I remember when Ms. Miller reached out to us, to put this together way back when what seems like 50,000 years ago now. It might only been 5 days. Boy, times have changed.
Yes,
Thank you very much for coming on, man.
No problem.
Is Ms. Dawkins able to join us as well this afternoon?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, for our listeners, this is I feel like I'm in the International Space Station somehow, because everybody's everywhere, but we're all connected, right? So we're all doing this thing remotely. And thank you very much for helping us to leverage the technology so our listeners can be not just informed, but equally engaged and involved. So good afternoon to you, Ms. Brenda.
Good afternoon, Sterling. It's my pleasure, and I know you're staying safe. So it's good to be on with Andre to talk about our parenting, working remotely with homeschooling during COVID-19.
This is, I think, an opportune time because I believe for different reasons, many parents over the years had toyed with the idea of homeschooling. Many had perhaps, were wondering what it would be like. Now we get a taste. And for those of us who have been doing this for a while, life is almost the same with the exception of perhaps the physical activities when you would normally do it. Like for argument's sake, as simple as this is, there were parents who had physical activities, the music, the PE lessons that were not delivered within the home but were sort of contracted out. But they were on, let's say, Tuesday, Thursday, but their day out is Monday, Wednesday, for argument's sake. And just a simple little adjustment to that can be significant. Can you imagine if they have to balance other things as well? So I'm excited for you all to share with our listeners. If we look at this whole idea during this exercise we're under, how do we balance it? Mr. Bailey, you want to set the tone for us?
All right, no problem, sir. Well, like I said, we are now in a situation where Nobody signed up for it at this time. You mentioned persons volunteering to do homeschooling or at least toying with the idea. But we
Uh-huh.
are now in a situation where we didn't sign up for it. We were just, it was thrust upon us because of the
Mhm.
condition where you are already a parent and you were working out, your children were going to school, but now you're being asked to bring the office home as well as bring the classroom home. So you are put in a situation where you are doing multiple roles in a specific space over at the same period of time that you usually do other things. And
Mhm.
that can become difficult for persons, especially since it's a new situation. It's not something that we'd have seen before, faced before, experienced before. And the newness of it is what really can have us flustered at times. And the Family Resource Center, we want to maintain our presence in helping our families, our Cayman families, navigating this new space. It's been called internationally the new normal, the idea of sheltering in place and staying home and social distancing. But the new normal, as it is now, comes with additional challenges or new challenges, if you will. And if we are able to properly balance the situation of having to work remotely and doing right by our kids in homeschooling them properly, then it can be little less anxious on our part, and we can be more be better able to navigate through all of that.
Not just more productive and positive, but hopefully in a position where the family feels as if they're more connected and loving, as it were. Miss Brenda, before I ask some other questions, perhaps you may want to jump in.
Yes, just to chime in terms of supporting Andre in what he said regarding this whole new normal that we found ourselves in, and even calling our roles at home as we help our children with their schoolwork, homeschooling, uh, which has taken on a new twist in terms of how this is done. But it can be daunting for parents as they try to balance this whole working on their regular day work as well as working alongside their child with the barrage of learning apps and video meetups and email assignments, Zoom calls that the children have to do. This can prove to be very frustrating and exhausted. And that is one of the reasons why Family Resource Center continues to support families as they go through this, to let them know they are not alone. We are here to support them and to encourage them because like parents, it is also a new norm for us, sheltering in place and doing physical distancing, but also ensuring that the work is done. So it is with this in mind that we are encouraging our parents and supporting our parents as they maintain a positive relationship with their children, being parent and being quote unquote teacher, as it were.
Indeed, and I know that you guys, always been gracious with your time, always doing various presentations across the community. And the recent webinar that you did certainly and would be very grateful for you to share that with the wider public. But as we do, I was just thinking, we're looking at parents traditionally, who are working out and then coming home in the evenings, normally making sure the child, if you got homework, is the homework being done? Uh, Perhaps providing some level of support and assistance, depending again on the child and on the work that's being done. But as you just shared, now this is gone from not just doing that, but actually being the quote unquote teacher, the facilitator. It's something that is being said, and I'm wondering to what extent it will actually be the new norm. That we're saying. If this is the new norm, is it something that we are going to be able to embrace? Not only, do we have to, but should we? And if so, what are the consequences for the economy, the family unit, the community? our very existence and way of life. Any potential negative side effects that could be perhaps overlooked or downplayed?
The thing about this, Sterling, is that this thing is temporary in nature. Um, However we want to look at it, it's still a temporary thing. The world has gone through pandemics before, and we have passed it as a people, human beings, the world itself. And what we have said to parents is that we are just now needing to make a solution to the temporary condition. So, with that in mind, being future focused and understanding that what we're going through now won't last forever, it helps us with our cool thoughts, as we call them, to say, this too shall pass. And it helps to offset some of the negative implications that would want to arise, in that it is becoming something that can be seen as far more positive. I share an example with you. A coworker of mine was sharing with me that she had the opportunity of teaching her son how to read a clock, something that was taught in school traditionally. The child would have gone to school and the teacher would have been the one to teach him how to read the clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and so on. But now, having been the teacher and the child being homeschooled, she was the one who had the opportunity to teach that child how to read the clock. And as a learning item, the child will always remember that my mother was the one who taught me how to read the clock. So we're trying to frame the positives that come from this, the opportunity to spend more time with the children, to talk more, to have family dinners together, to do activities in place together, rather than focus so much on the negatives. The thing is, with children again, especially older ones into teenage years, they would have been used to having a digital connection with their peers from before COVID-19 started. They were always on the social media platforms, they were always using the computer, they were always on their phones and maintaining digital friendships. So for them, it might be a little easier in that they're able to navigate this, except for the physical contact and being there. But they would have been used to connecting with each other on a digital level. And that too spells for another positive that comes from this issue of social distancing. If we should say that anything is bad about it, it would have been the ability to meet up with family members, older family members, because we know with the advices we're given with COVID-19 and the situation that we said, persons who are older in our communities are senior members. We want to minimize the visits as best as possible, and children might not be given the opportunity at this time, so much so to visit with these senior members of their family, and they might not be given the opportunity to play outside in terms of physical meeting up at the park and at the school playground as much, but they can offset that by doing physical activities at home, by doing things within the home space in a safe environment and connecting with these family members using the technologies that are present.
All right. Well, listen,
Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead, Ms.
I also want to say that in terms of the positiveness that will happen, we have seen for years where parents sometimes don't find the time to engage with schooling and schools, as it were. So some positive that might come out of this is the whole element of parent engagement as it relates to the schoolwork that the child does, and having that discourse with the teachers and other caregivers within the school settings. I also know, I was reading an article and it talked about people like Isaac Newton and Shakespeare and Thomas Edison, that whatever happened and what they developed and co-opted at the time came out of some form of not necessarily disaster, but what is happening to us here now. And so parents might be able to honing onto the skill set that their children have and understand where they are, where they can chart them in terms of career paths, in their creativity in the midst of all the mess that is around them, and understanding what their potentials are and guiding them along that path. I say it is challenging, but it will be worth it. And so I would encourage parents to make it a rewarding experience, because this is just a stand in the while moment while we wait the pandemic out.
All right. Well, when we come back from the break, let's pursue that. This too shall pass and out of order. We can make order out of this chaos here at some point, and give parents that sense of hope and have them positively look forward to some, wonderful expectations, the great expectations that lie ahead. All right, we'll pause, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal, and never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Need to make an essential outing for personal care items or prescription refill? Make ValueMed Pharmacy your stop for essential products. Open daily under new curfew restricted hours. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or in Boddentown. Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Boddentown location opens at 8:30 a.m. and on Sundays and holidays 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. A maximum of 3 customers allowed in store, and customers are encouraged to maintain social distancing while shopping. For faster prescription service, order online through value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Digicel's Shake to Win is back. Every Saturday, Digicel is giving you a chance to win LTE handsets, cash prizes, data, D-Music subscription, gas vouchers, grocery vouchers, and that's not all. Every week, you get a chance to win a $5,000 regional prize. Don't miss out. Simply download the new My Digicel app, activate a plan if you're not already on one, and shake to win every Saturday. It's that simple. My Digicel. More made simple. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, Cayman. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Social distancing. Well, that means you're to keep a distance of 3 to 6 feet away from the person next to you. Or in layman's term, if you can see the color of the eye next to you, you're too close. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information: the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
The RCIPS, National Drug Council, and Radio Cayman are reminding you to stay home, refrain from social gatherings, and having parties during soft and hard curfew. Do your part. Limit alcohol consumption or stay sober. Do not undermine your immune system and health by misusing alcohol or any other substance. Remember, we are all in this together. Stay safe, stay home, stay alive, Cayman.
Shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And in partnership with the Family Resource Center as part of the Rethink Parenting program, we have on, the line with us, Andre Bailey and Brenda Dawkins. Hey, thanks very much. I can almost see you guys, sitting next to me in the studio, or virtual studio, as it were.
Just like that.
Man. Well, as you were sharing, we were talking about this whole idea of the new norm, the notion that in this era that we're going through, trying to balance, homeschooling and working remotely and, all of the interesting things. But Andre, if I may ask, and I love your positive sort of, approach. You talked about this is temporary, but then we're equally almost in the same breath saying that this is the new norm. Are we contradicting ourselves, or if it's temporary, but then this is what we might be facing going forward? Wearing mask, social distancing. What are your thoughts?
Well, norms change from a sociological, academic perspective. Norms change from time to time, different societies, different periods of time. So, as it is right now, we are adapting to what the prevailing condition is. And the fact is that we are going through a global pandemic, which requires us to wear these masks and to keep our distance from the other person based on the transmission of the virus itself. This normal, or this situation, will change again. As soon as the world gets a hold of the coronavirus, like they did with other viruses before, then the norm in that time and space will also change. So it's a new normal, yes, and we're not contradicting so much because the normal is in relation to the specific time and the specific place. It's temporary because we know that soon enough, however that soon is defined, soon enough, it will pass, it will go. It's a temporary situation, but it's the normal temporary, as the case may be.
The new normal. Now, I follow what you're sharing, but then I was just thinking that if, and let's just use Germany as an example, and by the same token, let's use what we've heard from the Honorable Premier and Honorable Health Minister share other press briefings. Maybe as early as this week, we'll be expected to all start wearing masks as we go about the public. The joke being, the first time in history, you go into the bank with a mask and you can get money from the teller, all right? So we're making all these jokes. So that, and the reason why I'm asking is that as I look at people and thinking that, yes, there'll be changes and we'll adapt to this new norm. The adaptation of human is certainly commendable. Perhaps it speaks to our existence and survival. But I'm wondering, will that new norm, if it's the mask wearing, the social distancing, the increased distance learning, not tertiary level, but from, infancy, how and to what extent could that affect society, communities, and even the family unit?
That's me or Miss Brenda?
Well, hey, whoever feels courageous today.
Okay.
I was addressing it to you, Mr. Baylor, but
Okay. Well, we are doing what we can in the moment to ensure that our community and our families continue with that optimistic output in terms of how they view what is going on in the society. Yes, it might be that now we're asked to wear these masks. Yes, it might be now that we're asked to keep our distance. But like you speak to the adaptability of human beings, even within that social situation, we are able and we're resilient people, especially within the Cayman Islands. The people are strong and resilient and are able to work beyond what the prevailing problem is. We do see, when talking about an international level, where there have been some sort of relaxing of restrictions, if you will. Children in Spain are now allowed to go out for an hour during the day to get some physical exercise and some fresh air in. And we are using that projection to say that over time, we acknowledge that this is a marathon and not so much a sprint. So we'll have to take our time, and when we get there within our society, to move from wearing a mask, if that is what is being considered at the time, to a point where we could go back to normal, if possible. We don't know. At this point, we don't know. But we're taking it in strides, and we're here to support persons, and this is why we're talking today, even how to balance this situation, how to balance being asked to work from home, how to balance having to school from a distance, using online schooling and so on. And it forms part of our webinar series as well. How do we, as a people, how do we change our mindset? How do we reframe what we are currently experiencing to cope with the current and the prevailing conditions?
Fair enough. And Ms. Brenda, you wanted to add?
I concur with what Andre has saying. I'm sure out of any form of pandemic or disaster, after evaluation and assessment, there are always some things that can be done the same way that they were, and others that might change. So, like you mentioned before, we might see some more changes in regards to how schooling is done. We might even see changes with regards to how people go to work. For so long, we have been on about the traffic situation, and now we are seeing where it is possible that some people can work from home and be effective. So how do we institute some of these positive impacts that can impact us positively moving forward? I recall I was talking to someone, and they were saying how good they feel when they went into the supermarket line and had people at a 6-foot distance behind them, because they felt a little bit more private, or going up to the cashier at the bank. And so you never know what might happen. These might be some of the positive changes which are not going to be hurtful to anyone that we might have to adopt going forward. But as it relates to parenting, there are a lot of speculations. We know whether we do regular schooling or so. We might even have more people who might be thinking about how to do homeschooling. So there is I want to say there is a great sense of hope. You asked about that earlier with regards to all of this. It's not only about it passing, but what can I gain and what positives can we take from this is what we are looking at.
Before we go to the final break in our segment, Andre, if I could ask you respectfully, you referenced earlier the notion that this is temporary, and I know that's in relative terms, means one thing to some and something else to another. In your mind, if you were to put a clock on it, this will last another 5 days, 5 months, 5 years. Temporary to you, when this too shall pass. When do you see us coming out the other side? How long from now?
Well, I listen to the experts in Sterling. I don't know personally. I didn't go to med school, and I have no training in pandemic management or less. So I follow the experts and what our good government says and what the experts say. I follow those guidelines. So whatever it is that the government, based on their research and expertise, that's the guideline I operate with personally, and that's the guideline I'd also encourage our families and our community to go by as well.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked that is that it is this thing, as Ms. Brenda was sharing, the notion that, the quality of life, as I put it, for some of us, for instance, we have perhaps a wider personal space in the bank line, in the supermarket line. We don't like people breathing down our necks, as it were. Some people like to be closer to you when they're talking. Some people like to be a little bit, more distance. They drive on the road. What should be a 15-minute drive was taking maybe 2 hours. We have, an hour and a half, give or take, to be home. Breakfast, exercise, So the quality of life, there are some positives. When we come back from this final break, certainly if you wish to share more from your webinar and help us to understand how to balance, that work life, the homeschooling and the like, be most grateful to you. Would that be fine?
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
All right. Perfect. Let's pause. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, more talk today.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
The public is advised that all public beaches will be closed throughout the Cayman Islands for a full 24-hour hard curfew from the 17th of April to 5 a.m. 1st of May 2020. This means persons are prohibited from entering on, walking, swimming, snorkeling, fishing, exercising, or any type of activity on any public beach during these times. Private owners with beach access are not permitted beyond the high water mark. Stay home to save lives, Cayman.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Hello, Cayman. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Essential staff, police officers, immigration, customs, doctors, nurses, first responders, they are essential staff. So if you got to ask, then you ain't. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information: the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
Would you like to cancel a work permit that was submitted before or during COVID-19? Are your PR fees due soon and unsure what to do? Want to know the status of a submitted work permit? Email workadministration@gov.ky today. That's worcadministration@gov.ky, or visit www.work.worc.ky today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Together with our friends at the Family Resource Center, Andre Bailey, Brenda Dawkins, thanks again for sharing with us. I believe now, as we talk about these webinars that you have upcoming, maybe we should ask you to share more. About six webinars, right, over the next few weeks. Is that my understanding? And what they start this Wednesday, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
You have Wednesdays at 4:30. So persons can go online and register for our webinars. There'll be 6 of them, like you mentioned, starting this Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. weekly.
All right. And for about an hour or so with some question and answers, I gather?
Yes, it is for an hour, and persons are allowed to participate by typing their questions. We field the questions as best as possible, and the webinars also include key experts that we invite to participate with us based on the topics that we're discussing. So we have the facilitators from the Family Resource Center, and we also have invited guests who are experts in the respective or representatives in the respective fields.
And I think, when you look at the timing that you schedule 4:30, even in the normal working day, that's a good time for parents to, be able to sort of adjust their schedules to watch if this is the school day. It's towards the end. So for an hour, that's fantastic. Could you give us an overview, perhaps, some of the sort of the topics, the areas that you're going to be covering?
Okay, so for this Wednesday, the webinar will be on talking about COVID-19 and providing home learning support to your children. And that, as Andre says, starts at 4:30. We ask persons to register for this webinar, as well as they will be able to view it live on Facebook. We will have our representative from the Family Resource Center, along with representatives from the professionals from the Education Services and Education Department, who will speak on specific topics as we help to guide our parents along this during this time. It will be interactive, as we said, and then as we move on May 6th, we'll have creating structure in the home, and again, we will have presenters assisting, then positive parenting, keeping it positive in the home, and the fourth one will be positive parenting, handling challenging behavior, and keeping calm and managing stress is on May 27th, that's number 5, and the sixth one is family connection, creating one-on-one time during COVID-19, and that will be on June 3rd. And more of this will be out there so that people will understand what the objectives of each webinar is.
Well, I commend you for that, because as I listen to your topics, whether we were, ordinarily homeschooling our parents, as parents, or whether we are, homeschooling in this pandemic, or whether it's not homeschooling, these are things that will be beneficial to us as families. And you were sharing, if we want to submit questions, frc@gov.ky.
That's correct. Persons are able to reach us by that email, frc. I'll repeat, frc@gov.ky. They can also call our phone lines, which are still open, 949-0006. They could visit our website, frc@gov.ky, where they could get in contact with us there. Visit our social media pages, which are monitored. These are the ways you could reach us at all times.
All right, man. And I think, being a live interactive webinar gives all the participants a chance to maybe feed off, each other, see how other parents and the families are either coping, or they themselves may feel that they're not alone with these similar things. So it brings a sense of community, if only virtual. At least it brings us together even more so, right?
It does indeed.
Yeah. But as I was listening to you and recognizing the time, I certainly appreciate this continuing partnership that we've enjoyed with the Family Resource Center for the longest time now. The notion that we talk about, small businesses being the lifeblood of the economy. We talk about the families, being the important element within the community. We have so much happening in our lives now on an individual basis, and the stress, the particular struggles that we may be having in our homes could be heightened because of the uncertainty, the lack of, perhaps mobility that we may be enjoying for whatever reason. Hopefully, parents will avail themselves of these opportunities that you have offering to us. Registration is that. How do we? I mean, just remind us, how do we go about it? Because some of us, we show up at the door, but this isn't the time for that. So, what do we do to register? Just repeat it for us again.
All right, to register for the webinars, and we have the links provided through our Facebook and other social media pages, as well as links through, we could email to persons by sending us an email at frc@gov.ky. The thing is that with the webinars, the registration gets you access to that, where you're able to participate in the sessions themselves. So make contact with us. We'll be sending out via social media all the contacts, and it's a simple click, and it takes you to the registration page.
I'd also like to add that the CIG Facebook page is available, and persons will be able to watch it live on www.facebook.com/CaymanGovInfo. So for the webinar on Wednesday, that will be on the CIG Facebook Live. So persons can tune in there as well.
4:30. So just a good internet connection and some sort of device that you can watch and engage. Man, technology at your fingertips, huh?
And of course, I want to encourage the parents as well in all of this, not to be intimidated. It is a learning. It is a learning course for all of us. It is getting familiar with all the technological explanations and jargons, and out of this they will emerge winners, just like we are as well, navigating some of these webinars and how to conduct them. So we are all in this together, and we want to support our parents, and we invite and encourage them to participate and submit questions or concerns they would have to Family Resource Center, frc@gov.ky.
The webinars, Sterling, are also posted on our website after each webinar itself. So persons who might want to revisit what was discussed during the webinar can always visit our website, and we have a parenting resource page there which captures all the webinars that we will do throughout this entire series.
Well, perfect, man. Thank you both for sharing with us and for your continued work with your colleagues and helping us. And one thing about this, unlike a physical space where it may be limited to 10 or 100 or 1,000, this is virtual, so everybody can watch it without having to worry too much, So,
exactly.
All right. Well, you guys have a very productive week. Be safe. Thank you again for sharing us, and looking forward to further discussion with you as we improve the strength and health of our families and our community. All right.
It's our pleasure. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Most welcome. All right, we're going to pause, take a break, go to our news. Try not to give Ms. Susan any more headaches and hassles than we're already probably doing by doing this thing remotely. But when we come back, who's going to be the first caller? Well, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The Family Resource Center has launched its COVID-19 parenting campaign to support self-isolating households with 1 or more children. The initiative begins its rollout today. Throughout the 6-week initiative, parents and guardians will have ready access to advice and resources on how to support children and each other during the COVID-19 pandemic. The first of 6 live webinars start on Wednesday, April 29th from 4:30 p.m., hosted by the FRC on its Facebook page. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. The last remaining patient to survive a mass shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas last August has died, according to hospital officials and family. Guillermo Garcia coached a local football team and was shot while selling lemonade with his wife in order to fundraise for the team's children. The death toll in the August 3rd attack, which officials say was a hate crime against Hispanics, now stand at 23. And New Zealand says it has stopped community transmission of COVID-19, effectively eliminating the virus. With new cases in single figures for several days, one on Sunday, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the virus was currently eliminated, but officials have warned against complacency, saying it does not mean a total end to new coronavirus cases. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you again for joining us. We're going to have some open line here, by design, to encourage, to invite, to include all of our listeners to participate and to share. I'm very grateful for, even more than ever, the amount of material that we're sharing with each other, the science, the conjecture, some of the speculation, some of it is just people putting together some thoughts in poetry, in song. Some of it, I've had with great enthusiasm and amazement, been inspired by some individuals prior to this episode in our lives who themselves have said, they've rarely sat down to draw or to write in any form. And now that they seemingly, one, not just have some time on their hands, but they're able to find a quiet space, a space where they can think if they want, they can reflect if they choose, and not necessarily be interrupted, disturbed, distracted by other things. And as we were just having a chat, with our friends from the Family Resource Center, and again, on behalf of the Family Resource Center, we invite our families to be a part of their series of webinars starting, this Wednesday at 4:30, to see how we can improve our own lives, the health and well-being of our families, and by extension, our communities. But I say all that to sort of emphasize the importance of, what could be another positive in all of this. We always say, try to find, the silver lining in every cloud, try to find the good things. And sometimes it is challenging in this environment. Now, the phone lines are open. You call, you share. Miss Susan will answer. She passes us through. We hear from you. You can agree, you can disagree, you can say, listen, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not quite sure, what all this means, and what if it means this, and what if it's not. It's about dialogue and discourse. Sometimes it's about being very, very critically, assessing what is transpiring locally and globally. It may be saying, well, we said this, but we're not saying this. What if it was this? Let us think. Go back to the thought, from an individual who said, for the very first time in a very, very long time, he's had time on his hands, and he realized that that was the one thing that it was lacking in his life, the time to think, to put together his thoughts in relation to next steps, not just in relation to, well, what business ventures I would like to get into, how do I grow my business, but what are the things I would like to do. So the phone lines are there, 1-800-534-8255. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome, thank you for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Is that me?
Okay, 949-8037 if you're not able to access the toll-free line. Hey, good afternoon.
You hear me?
I can now. Thank you so much for calling us this afternoon. How are you?
Well, I just wanted to say hello to you because I haven't talked to you in a while, and you get so lonely when you're living by yourself.
Hey, listen, thank you for reaching out to me, and I'm telling you, what you were saying is something that has been weighing on me heavily. We heard it just then in our discussion with our friends from the Family Resource Center that on the one hand, the government, the experts, and everybody is saying, reach out to especially those who are by themselves or elderly in particular.
Yeah.
But then on the same hand, we said stay away from people. And I don't know how to reach out to you physically and also be physically distant. So it's a challenge, huh?
Well, I'm not even kidding about that. I never get lonely. I believe me, I have God. I don't have to be lonely. I don't.
No.
I can pick up the phone and call my friends and stuff like that. But the thing is, that was I think I'm sure a lot of people that are used to living with family and stuff like that and have to be by themselves, and that definitely it has its toll, takes its toll on them. But I just wanted to tell you that this whole thing now, is really, really getting to the point. I mean, like the weather, everything is. Remember, it's not just that Corona thing, you know. The weather. I mean, today it's got to be 90 degrees, at least 90 degrees, and it's hot, and there's no wind, you know, and it's kind of like I can't imagine poor people who are not well, who are you know, trying to hustle to get the food on the table, to go out and buy something from a store, and got to stand up and wait and wait and wait and wait. It bothers me, and I got something I'm going to show you, and then we can talk about it then. But I don't want to talk about it on the radio now. But there's so much we can do. We got to stop. We got to stop depending on totally if people ever run into government. Government only got so much money. And if they go broke, you know what's gonna happen. And I got some things that I want to talk to you about that we can change this whole thing, and everybody will be happy, and everybody will feel a part of what's going on, and you know what I mean.
All right. So, well, definitely looking forward to that. But if I may ask you, because you're alluding to something that so many other people, for whatever reason, isn't as willing to say it publicly, right? In that two things. Not only are we now as social creatures sort of inclined to interact, we're limited. And some are willing to, you know, hold on for now because we believe, you know, the end is in sight and it's going to be better. But in the interim, the other thing that people are sharing is that just from the health perspective, we know that people who are hypertensive, who have diabetes, heart issues, other health concerns, are we at all worried that they may not be able to have care that they need? They may themselves be delaying going out to the hospitals and the like and their physicians out of a heightened sense of fear that they could contract this thing. You know, one fellow said to me just the other day, he said, you know, you avoid going to look for your elderly, you know, to make sure they got food, and so, you know, not give them, expose them to the risk of getting this thing. But in the interim, you know, they end up starving and the like. So, from your perspective, I mean, is this that we are now, on one hand, perhaps not paying attention that there are other things health wise that are affecting people that may not be getting the same level of attention, or appointments that were sort of postponed, are they being able to reschedule surgeries and other things that people had on their table do relative to their health? Are they getting the attention now that they deserve?
The thing is that I'm old enough to remember, and you probably too, but years ago when we had any kind of crisis and like that, the whole island got involved. I mean, it was like if we got anything, everyone was saying, well, look, good example of that. Look at after Ivan, how everybody got together. But you see what has happened to Cayman now. We got so many of these little groups that out there doing things. Instead of doing this, happen this one, happen that one. And instead of having a fund, government has to have a fund, and it will be contributed. Everybody will be contributing to that fund, and then it's not going to be government that's going to run it though, but you're going to have a body of people, honest, God-fearing people that will make sure that everything that's done is done by, you know, the way God would have us do it. And instead of doing this one, you got to think for diabetes, you got to think for cancer, you got to this for that, that. And everybody, and believe me, those things, when you get people who are in charge of those groups, they don't want nobody else to get any money to do what they got to do. I should be getting that, I should get it. But if we had a fund, some sort of a fund, whereby it's a bank account, an interest-bearing account, and then you have a group of people from different parts of the island, honest people, who will be in charge and doing the thing as far as that, and making sure that whatever was spent That's why I'd like when Mr. Wassell was in charge back then with the funds. Because what has happened to us today, Dwayne, we've got this thing where we got tourism, we got this, we got that, and it billions of dollars. And then when you projecting the funds that are going to come in, and we have this habit now that we can spend money because this year we're going to make X number from tourism. Well, this year we're not going to make nothing from tourism. You see? So what I'm saying is all of that money that was spent before, and I say it again, they went out, they bought 17 buses. You heard me talk about that on the radio. 17 school buses now to do what? To sit around now because they're not going to school. But you see, nobody listens to that. That's good advice. But they went and buy 17 buses now, and we stuck with them. We can't do a thing with them. They're not taking no children to school. And nobody wants to hear it because everybody who's in charge thinks they know everything and they don't know nothing. You see,
I hear you, man. But
one that was controlled by, like I said, honest people who are doing the right thing. That's what we need. And we could have. I mean, here's the idea. 60-something thousand people in this island. That's what I say. And I'm writing something about it. If we got 60-some thousand, let's say that right now, even with all this stuff going on here, most people could give a few dollars, a week, or $1 a day or something, And if we did that, and if you think about it, and everybody's putting in, contributing, and it's there building up. You see, don't wait to the crisis. I'm talking about before you get the crisis, these things are happening. So by the time we get in something like this now, we've got so much money in that account, we wouldn't know what to do with, but it's all the people's money.
yeah, man. There are things that we can do. Yeah, man. Well,
That's
I got to
what
reach
we
out
need
to you.
do. We need to have that fund. They don't depend on government for everything. Don't depend on government for everything. Huh?
Yeah, we are the government, I think, man.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
are the government.
listen. Yeah, let's talk about it some more. And I always glad to hear from you. We do have another caller, though. We want to take that one before we take the break. So, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling. Hello, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm not too bad. How are you doing?
Oh, man, always thankful, very grateful indeed.
We all got to be thankful, I tell you. No, what I really call about, I don't understand why the liquor store can be open and the hardware store can be open for all of these people that's home now that got time to do something for themselves and probably don't have the material home and they could go to the hardware store and get the material and do something for themselves now.
Huh. But okay, I hear what you're saying, and despite whatever justifications that we may add, let me ask, the hardware stores in particular and those other businesses, if they were open now, do you think that for the short term that we could potentially increase the risk of more and more people coming into contact, not just in the store, but they're in the store and they're buying stuff, so they're bringing people into their homes for the electrical, the plumbing, the AC, the carpentry, whatever work that they want done, either to help them or if they can't do themselves. In the short term, do you think those kinds of stores and that kind of business being conducted again in the short term, do you think that would increase the risk of potentially greater potential for transmission?
Well, it's possible, yeah. But you go to Foster's or wherever you go now, liquor store, wherever, you crowd bucking up in each other. You're not that 6 foot away. You're not this and not that. Everybody's still running into each other and still chances of picking it up on them places too.
Okay. No, and I hear you. I mean, and I'm glad that you're sharing this because I'm saying that other people likewise are talking, privately, maybe not as publicly, but to look at it from as many perspectives as possible. The argument has been put forward that, for now, for the next couple of weeks or months or however long the experts think would be advisable, that we don't have these types of businesses open just yet because of these things. Now, in the supermarket, we've seen people try to stand, a reasonable distance apart to have extended conversations. We've seen people passing each other, going in opposite directions as they're looking for the different foods in the different aisles. Um, and a greater risk there, as you shared, than in the liquor store, the hardware store, or the church, or anywhere else. Do you think that this notion of what we've done globally to close different businesses, to keep people home, I mean, if you were being asked privately and confidentially to honestly say what you think, would you be agreeing with it? What would be your thoughts?
I agree with that, yeah. The more you keep people home, the more better it would be. I'm staying home as well.
Yep,
Like days go out there. I don't want to go neither. But sometimes I have to go, so I go. And time back, you might wake up in the morning, you feel, oh, well, I wish I didn't have to go to work today. I wish I could stay home. But by you being willing to work, you go. But now I get up in the morning, I wish I had work to go to.
I guess it makes you appreciate what you have, right? But I don't know, man. I know we have a break and we have another caller, and I certainly want to get anybody else. But if I can ask you one other question, if you would put a time on this thing. You too. Take care.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Man, it's always good to hear our people there. And with great respect, we're going to pause quickly. Not a long break, I'm told, and we'll get right back to our callers.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Vamped Motors encourages everyone to stay home in compliance with our government's directives, which are absolutely critical to protect our islands from the coronavirus. In light of this, Vamped Motors will be closed until our Cayman Islands government gives us the all clear to return to work. Please, everyone, be safe and let's get through this together by staying apart.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It is the open line, and we have a couple of callers, so thank you for being a part of the show. Let's go to our phones. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and how are you?
Very grateful, very blessed. And yourself?
I'm blessed as well. Thank you for asking. And I know Susan is okay, and the rest there must be okay too. But I never is DJ Lynn back?
Yeah, he's back to work. Like a lot of us, he's working remotely. He's been doing some, I guess, is what DJing. I see him on the social media thing now, and it's amazing how he has incredible talent, a
Yeah, I
zeal for life.
know. I
Yeah,
know.
man.
And a beautiful voice.
Well, I wouldn't go that
I'm
far. I
so
mean,
glad that he's back. I'm very glad that he's back, and I hope that because I kind of know what he's gone through, because I also have I
That's
had my kidney removed just a while ago, so I'm glad that he's back and doing well, and I pray for God's blessing for him and
God is
Radio
merciful.
Cayman. And I just wanted to say, the last caller was talking about, the hardware stores. I do agree about the hardware stores, because they could do what Foster's do. And it's not all the time that we need plumbing or electrical or something, because right now I wish we could get to a hardware store just for simple things that we can't get at. Well, I keep talking about Foster's because that's my shop that I usually shop. So we could do the same thing, or otherwise just A.L. Thompson open one week, give them a break, and then the hardware Uncle Bill's, they open one week and rotate it, and the distance, being marked on the floor and stuff like that. My neighbor ran out of peat the other day, and my God, this man is working outside all the time, and he's vexed. He don't have nothing to do. Because he ran out of peat, and Peter usually do our plumbing, and we need different things from a hardware store. It's the beach is closed down. I mean, which I don't think that was right. The government is trying their best, and I'm glad that what they're doing. I'm happy to what they're doing. They're trying their best, but the beach was not necessary. They should have arrested those people that were on the beach and made an example out of them, and then people would be aware of what they would do. But then the whole of us got to be suffering, especially the little children. For goodness sake. I don't think the commissioner of police know how important that sea air is. I don't think so. But I'm not going to complain, because, like I said, the governor and the medical staff and all of them, the fire service, the paramedics, they're working hard, and thank God for people like them. And I hope they're, keep healthy, and the rest of you as well. Keep healthy. What would we do without Radio Cayman? The radio of Grand Cayman, the station. Anyway, thanks a lot, Dwayne. I could have a lot more to say. In fact, I could talk you right straight home. But not today, because others want to get it. Thank you, and stay safe, all of you. God bless.
God bless. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to have the live press briefing at 2 p.m., but let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Dwayne?
Hey, good afternoon.
How you doing, Sterling? All is well?
All is well, man. How are you?
I'm not too bad. This is Emily Kenneth Bryan. Can you hear me clearly?
Well, we can hear you, man. Any closer, and I would ask Susan if she hiding you in the studio somewhere. You sound great, man. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much. I just called because, for one, to prepare people today for the press briefing, because one of the things I don't want people to do is panic. As you know, we are awaiting close to 700 test results today. And based on the percentages of tests that we're doing, we've been averaging about 1% of that amount, or around 10%. So we can get like maybe two to four every day. But that's with a sample size of about 25 to 50. So obviously, I have no idea what the results are going to be, just so the public knows that. But I always try to prepare myself with the rationale of how many tests this is, and how long of a period of time was the test results done. And with the 700 tests that is pending, which is, I'm expecting today for those results to come in, because it's been the weekend, and I'm assuming the laboratory would have had enough time to get those results in, that regardless of what the results say, let's not panic, because there's a potential chance that you may have a high number, like 20 or 15 or something like that. That doesn't mean that things are really, really terrible. I don't even know what a terrible number would be. Any more than one is a terrible number for me. But to put things in perspective and not get too anxious, because one of the things that is very important to me is our mental state of getting through this chaos and this crisis and this pandemic. So I want us to prepare ourselves to know that there may be a large percentage of results done today, and it could be a possibility of a larger than normal percentages of positive. I don't know. But if that is the case, let's put it into perspective that this is over a longer period of time, because we're not getting the test results every single day like before, and we're doing a lot more tests. So to prepare ourselves for that. But as I was listening to your show, a very informative show every day, I try to listen to it right before the press briefing while I'm preparing myself for my notes.
Thank you.
The caller was talking about, the hardware stores, and then also comparing that to the liquor stores. And I don't want to get into the specifics of any one business, but I think the question is about fairness and rationale. And I think why this question continues to come up about the liquor stores as opposed to the hardware store is because we're not telling the people the reality and the truth. I'm a straight shooter in respect to things, right? And liquor is a drug. And what you don't want in this chaos is persons who consume it and have a dependability on it now, not having access to it at a time like this, because then that creates disorder. Because when people are in need, if you think about it in a worst case, and I hate to compare it to the two, but the same rationale works. When you're in need of something and you want it, you may go outside the boundaries of other things and regulations like curfews to try to get it. And I personally think the decision was made to say, listen, we don't want to create that kind of chaos where if you don't have the liquor store open and you have people, sadly saying it like this, fiending for some sort of consumption of alcohol to de-stress from all the pressure that is there, that can make the matter worse. Now, for a non-drinker, that may, because I don't drink. I'm a social person. If I'm going out to a function, I'll do it because I don't want to look like the boring guy in the corner. But I don't drink every day. Like I probably drink maybe once or twice a month. But the rationale behind it, we had to tell the people the truth is that the only reason it's really open is so it doesn't create more problems. Not because it's essential. It's just it's essential not to create any more havoc in trying to control the behavior of people in a pandemic. It's better off to say, you know what, allow them to go home and consume it at home. They can rest their mind. Because some people don't do it because they're dependent on it. Some people do it because the stress levels is there. We have to admit that alcohol does something to the body and rests your mind and it relaxes you. Some people get them angry and all kinds of other things. But that's the truth of the matter. Now, the rationale behind the hardware stores is simple. Yes, the government has made a decision, in my view, based on that understanding about the liquor stores, but people are not going to be fiending for tools or for other supplies. Yes, it would be great if they were open because while we have this free time, per se, at home, we could be fixing our houses and doing little things while we have this time on our hands. Because as a homeowner, myself as a father, there's a lot of fixer-upper things that I'm supposed to be doing from home all of these years and months that I just never got around to doing. I say, oh, boy, it'd be perfect if I had a couple of pieces of plywood or 2x4. If I had a little plumbing fixture, I could have fixed that thing or that light. But the government's job and responsibility is to try to minimize as much as possible that the people are willing to accept contact. Now, you're still going to get risk going to a restaurant, but you're getting food. That you have to do that to survive. So it's a juggling act, and other governments and other leaders may have different views. Some countries, liquor wouldn't be even a question, like, say, for instance, in Arab countries where it's against the law to drink. There wouldn't be any question because, you know what, liquor is not a big deal. So we have to rationalize why the government is making these decisions and the logic behind it. And I have to support the Premier when he always says, you know, it's not that we want to do this, but we have to make a logical decision to see how we balance the control and the safety mechanisms of our people interacting with each other. So it's not that they want to. Trust me, I've been around my colleagues long enough to know that there's nothing special about the liquor stores. It's just simply it would be more chaotic if you didn't open it. Because if you know how many liquor stores you have in Cayman, that means there's a lot of consumption. And if a lot of those people don't have it, you can have a large percentage of your people in the country going, you know, they're frustrated at home because they don't have that thing to ease their stress levels or their dependability. And then the police may have even more problems in their hands. And I think that's where the logic came from. At least that's my
Guys, I listen to you. And I appreciate you sharing that publicly because it's a discussion that we've been ignoring. But as you know, there's this notion of withdrawal symptoms from any drug. Something you can answer, Wayne, if you choose, but I know that it's something that I have been asked, and I'm not, a psychologist, psychiatrist, medical practitioner, or otherwise. But those people who are already sort of addicted to other drugs, not just alcohol, but other illicit drugs, is there a way that we can reach out to them and help them during this time? Because, are they, how are they coping? And not that we want to facilitate their drug use, but maybe we can help them in their recovery. I know what other jurisdictions have done in terms of giving out clean needles and using as a treatment program. But is that something that we, through health services now, could be helping to manage instead of ignoring them as we have and locking them up in Northwood? Is there a way that we can help them now?
Unfortunately, we're not that progressive yet. That's I just being honest, right? Our political structure and our community are not progressive enough to go, okay, let's admit we have the problem and let's try our best to solve it in a positive way, which may even mean helping them have it, but have it safely. Like in the States, they rather give out needles than them share needles because then you have a situation of transfer of AIDS and the like. Now, right. I bet you when that first came to the forefront for discussion, people went, are you crazy? You're facilitating heroin use? But it's only a matter of time before people go, it actually makes logical sense. You're doubling the problem. Okay, let's at least control the heroin problem, but not have a pandemic of AIDS problem as well. Sorry.
Let's invite you if you want. I can reach out to you after, invite you to come on remotely, of course, and be our guest, and we can, sort of pick up on these topics. I don't want to be disrespectful to you or any other caller.
I was there on for a while. Sorry about that. I do appreciate you taking the time. So maybe tomorrow we'll reach out after the show later this evening. We'll have a chat. Yeah.
We'll do.
All right.
And, blessings to you, man. Love listening to people who talking because that's where I learn. But apologies, Ms. Susan. We do have a break. We have callers. We'll get to you. Stay tuned.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
For nearly 20 years, King Sports Center has been the heart of the Cayman fitness and wellness community. In order to ensure the welfare of all, we are temporarily closed until further notified by the Cayman Islands government that it is safe to reopen. During these trying times, we encourage everyone to maintain a healthy lifestyle, mind, body, and soul. We look forward to continuing providing you with world-class service in the very near future. Remain strong and continue to show the world the power of Cayman unity. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard. Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here on this, truly magnificent Monday's edition of Talk Today. We've got a full, level of calls waiting for us. But quickly, a very special happy birthday to Darren Conley from his nana, Miss Paulette, and her family. So, Darren, good to know that you're celebrating, and trust and pray there'll be more to come. But let's go straight to our phones. Each caller, hey, let's hear from you. Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Mr. June.
Yes, sir. How are you, man?
Oh, yeah, man. Look, can't tell when I'm on.
Okay, well, we got to try to figure it out. But you're on now. I'm hearing you. I hope you're hearing me as well.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Dean, say the show, everything had songs. They were good until I start hearing them trying to conjure up some claim of why they keeping the liquor store open. I understand what you're saying about withdrawal symptoms, but, you rather how those people drinking themselves to death than me, somebody that's suffering with something that actually needs something that you saying to be illegal. You understand?
Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking the question. What about other, other drugs? Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that. But say that kind of stepping out of bounds when you are calling justify alcohol use. You know what I mean? Plus, we've seen domestic violence going up. What you think just because the lockdown is because the lockdown with some alcohol? You understand?
Go hand in hand, maybe, yeah?
Yeah, you try to tell them that, watch what happen. So, Mr. Dwayne,
Yes, sir.
Is it okay for me to say, or for me to ask, why there's a bank in Kamana Bay?
Two banks have branches in Kamana Bay. Why is it? Yeah.
Two banks? No, I just wondering why banks were also there.
Yeah. What, I mean, I can answer, but what are you suggesting?
No, because we all know who owned Kamana Bay. I just wondering why there were two banks there.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the plan and design of the whole development, right? From the outset, they said, this is a new town, right? If you look at the way it's structured, they have a quasi-police force. They call it a security, and if you look at how it's abbreviated, and there's a, you look at.
Well, they got their own police force.
I say quasi. I mean, they got a team of security, right? You see their logos on their vehicles running around, and on every street corner, you see cameras everywhere. They're creating a new city, a new town, right? It's not impossible that down the road it could be the first incorporated city with the ability to levy taxes. They'll call it fees and what have you. You never know where that thing is going to eventually go. It could have its own little governance structure. The precedent exists elsewhere, so we don't know where it'll be. It's a large development. It's significant, a lot of money into it. It could be, precedent setting in many respects.
Yeah. I didn't really too much check the structure and how it was going on. Still, I was just going by, the history of who built and who owns that place. You know what I'm saying? So let me just ask you one last question, Mr. D. You think it couldn't be more better for us in the future if the government right now give all the people the granny to the grandchildren? Understand? $50,000 each. Like that would be more better for us in the future rather than us taking out all the pension now. Because if you take out all the pension now, the government probably be no more in shape.
There is an opportune time for us as a country to revisit the way we are doing business, the way we are governing, the way we are socializing, educating our health systems. I mean, everything, right? So it'll be more beneficial, it'll be better for us if we would rethink some of these things, right? The question, as you're alluding to, is do we, one, have the courage, and two, are we prepared to exert the level of commitment and sacrifice to, at the very least, consider some of these things, right? But we've seen before that maybe we have gone from the days of the Iron Men and the wooden ships, as my friend talk about. Now we're just looking at paper men as it is. But anyway, maybe that's a discussion for another time, just for more questions, see if we can posit some answers. But any other thoughts you wanted to share quickly? We're going to hit the other callers as well.
No. I just it's not like they don't got it. So
I hear you, man. I hear you.
All right.
Blessings to you, my friend. Blessings. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Let's go to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you today? Yeah, I can barely hear you though. Sound like you in the Bacchus Key now up on the bluff.
No, man. Wait, how do you hear me now?
One little bit better.
All right, this is Elvis back here, man.
Yeah, man. Elvis, good to hear from you.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
I can hear you a little bit better. Yep.
All right, well, I will listen to the Kenneth just now talking about the liquor stores and the warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make him know that where he pay coming from. Right now, the biggest money making for the government right now in the Cayman Islands is the liquor and cigarettes. Just to be informed that each bottle of rum, the government gets over $12. Each packet of cigarettes, they get $4.40. Because I paid Judas, I got a bonded warehouse. Every case of beer depends on the percentage of alcohol. It goes from $11.88 a case to up to $14 per case. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
So that's why it's essential. And the people that buying liquor are the working people, because you're not going to have money, you can't buy no liquor. But you know what the government is wasting money on? Chasing people up down for ganja and locking them up in prison for ganja, flying helicopters looking for ganja. That's why he got be talking about that. And you remember one of the most famous first ladies in the world? You know who she was?
No.
The great lady, Miss Nancy Reagan.
Okay, I was thinking Jacqueline Kennedy, but all right.
No. Nancy Reagan. And you know what? When she wanted to kill the Latinos and the poor colored people for ganja in Wayne all over the world, you know what her campaign message was? You remember it?
What said? Just say no.
You got it. Just say no. Well, now my campaign message to all the ganja smokers, for their politicians, just say no. No weed, no vote. Thank you very much.
I hear you, man. All right. Let me put that on our slogan. Hey, thanks very much. Let's see if we can take a couple more before we go. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you today, sir?
All right. I wasn't sure it was my turn. Peter Schmidt here. How are you doing?
Oh, Cap, I am doing well, man. Trust that you are, enjoying it and making the most of it as well.
Well, I'm getting the grass worn down, not only from the drought, but also from me walking around the house. But anyway, maybe a mental health issue rising there, not just with me, but anyway.
Yes, seriously.
I wanted to pose something to you and see if you have any thoughts about it. The Cayman is when we talking about statistics on this coronavirus issue. We're saying Cayman had one death, right? I find two things that I'm not happy about with that statement. One being that the passing of that gentleman was accredited wholly and solely to the coronavirus. Well, he was in extremely ill health when he got here and to the hospital. And it was other sources than other reasons, not the virus. The virus was detected later on. And so, you know how some urologists will tell you that most men will die with prostate cancer, but not from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the case in this gentleman was similar. He passed away with the coronavirus, but not necessarily from it, and certainly not from it alone. So to say that and number two, I think it's a stretch to say that was a Cayman death, because he certainly didn't acquire it here. It merely happened to be here when unfortunately his life came to an end. So again, this is not exactly the kind of credit that I think we ought to be taking.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my number one point. for food for thought. And then the number 2 point is the continuous repetition of the global statistics of the latest stage of the coronavirus situation that the premier usually recites when he does his part of the press briefing. I'm not sure what the aim is of that. Is it because we don't have anybody that really died here from it, that we're trying to kind of get people into compliance by stating the numbers from abroad? But I don't find it particularly helpful. Of course, I'm one of those that watches international programming on television, etc., so I'm quite familiar with the global situation on that.
Right.
And that, of course, cuts both ways. You know, I'm familiar with what happens in other countries and the kind of percentages of casualties they have versus what normally would be casualties from any flu season, you know, and compare the two numbers and so on. So those are two issues, you know, that I'm not too happy about. Now, of course, you earlier had the warming up from my wife regarding the hardware stores, and I could really use some items from the hardware stores because spending all my time at home now, and even if I could find an excuse to go out, I really shouldn't be, you know, because I'm a good little citizen and I'm behaving myself and follow the rules stated by the powers that be, even though some of them I don't necessarily too crazy about. But anyway, so I really got things that I could fix around the home and some improvements I could make, so it would really be good, even if we could apply the same system as they have with supermarkets to hardware stores. And that's about it, unless you wanted to give me your opinion on what you thought about my first point.
Well, I appreciate you raising it because I think that we're seeing increasingly the physicians globally, scientists, and like saying, well, there's a difference between dying from something and dying with something. But correspondingly, I think there are two other things that we need to consider. And to the other caller, I won't be very long because I want to join that person as well. But the notion that, one, everything now is being reported as if this is the only thing that is happening globally. And the concern is what about people who have other health concerns, ongoing health concerns, or may need to go to a physician, but perhaps out of their own sense of safety, their own assessment, they have now decided, let me just wait because I don't want to risk venturing out for whatever reason, run afoul of the law because of the curfews and the other stuff that we seem to be about, or because they don't want to contract this thing, right? The fear that the media and everybody's putting into people's minds, right? But equally, if we look at the passage of Hurricane Ivan, keep it in a local context, we didn't have any great loss of life during the passage of the storm. But what about those people who, in the year or 2 or 3 following, who may be unable to have recovered mentally, financially, and otherwise, who may have experienced challenges in their lives, came to an earlier demise than they would have otherwise? Are we now looking at that here? And then, of course, you find,
Yes, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, man. So it is time, I think, that the community start to do what I'm hearing a lot of physicians specifically share is think, ask questions. You don't need to be on civil. You just need to think, ask questions. Does this make sense? Whatever this thing is, right? And the caller prior said, wow, I can go into a space and people are standing back. Well, for me, when people got too close to me, I said, well, unless you're the person that wake up next to me in the bed in the morning, I don't want you that close to me. Now, people may be offended, but you don't need to be that close to me unless you are invited to be that close to me, right?
Yep.
And some people just want to get up in your business. So, some positives, huh?
All right.
All right,
Well,
boss.
We'll continue the saga another time.
There we go. There we go. All right,
Have a
thank you,
good
man.
afternoon. Thank you.
You too, sir. You too. Let's take one more call if we can. Good afternoon. Welcome. No more calls. Okay. Well, see that? Talk. People listen. Maybe they get the answer. Maybe they got impatient. Well, listen. Thank you all for sharing. Now, the phone lines are open. The press briefing is scheduled for 2 p.m. As usual. If it's on time, we're going to go on time to it. If it isn't, when we come back from our news break, we'll be here inviting you to share your thoughts with us. And as the press briefing starts, you'll forgive us if we have to cut you midstream in order to get to that so that you don't miss anything. But in the meantime, it is a talk show. It is about encouraging people in as safe and as welcoming an opportunity and an environment as possible for us to think and to share our sentiments. It is open line. We've got a couple of interesting things scheduled for our listeners tomorrow as well as Wednesday. And we're working on something for Thursday and for Friday. We'll know which day, one or the other will occur. But the idea is to try to encourage more of us to think and to talk, to be able to support things and also to question things, again, in a very respectful, responsible way. Now, many of us, we don't like to be challenged and questioned. Many of us, welcome input from others because we realize we don't have the blueprint on intelligence, and the more input, the better. Many hands make light work, but they have to be constructive, productive, nurturing, encouraging, helpful, positive hands that contribute. Now, as the last caller very, very rightly said, like so many of us, we would like to be able to get out to certain places, but because we understand for now the importance of doing not just, what we've been asked to do in terms of staying in, but because we believe it's in our best interests in the safety and security of our families, we won't go out to these places. We won't be asking for these things to be open. The question is, when we get to that point, what is it going to look like? Well, let's pause, go to the news, press briefing if so. If not, join us when we're back.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have on the island.
Generations present. Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access to information.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
Water Authority Cayman says it's committed to providing safe, high-quality, portable water to all customers. The company says the water they produce is tested daily by their accredited laboratory. The company says their water meets the World Health Organization guideline values for drinking water quality. If a customer is concerned about the quality of their water supply, they should contact the Water Authority by calling the emergency helpline 946-4357 so that the laboratory team can investigate. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Belgians are well known for loving chips, often with a big dollop of mayonnaise. But hard-up farmers now want them to eat chips twice a week. Romain Koels of the Potato Growers Union Belagapam presented it was a matter of survival as a major export sector fears ruin in the coronavirus crisis. And more U.S. states are beginning to lift lockdown orders, even as U.S. leaders say social distancing guidelines will be necessary throughout the summer. But governors warn that life will not quickly return to normal and that restrictions will remain in some places to keep the virus from resurging. On Friday, the U.S. saw its largest single-day spike in cases. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up-to-date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman.
Rumors and misinformation will not help us tackle the coronavirus. Remember, you can check on www.gov.ky/coronavirus to see trusted and up-to-date guidance from the experts. This page is being continually updated and should become your first port of call for the facts. Please do your part to avoid scare tactics and fake news. This government is not complacent. We will continue to prepare tirelessly, make the necessary decisions required in the best interests of the health and safety of our people. You may feel worried, scared, or stressed about the serious nature of COVID-19, but we can and will overcome this public threat. Again, remember to cover your cough and sneezes, wash your hands often, and avoid close contact with persons, especially if they're showing signs of respiratory illness. Please stay safe, and may God continue to bless the Cayman Islands.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Lee's Office Products is available for purchasing stationery supplies, but limited to deliveries only. To order your stationery supplies, please call 949-2303 or email salesleesofficeproducts@candw.ky. That's SALESLEESOFFICEPRODUCTS@candw.ky. Hours from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Make working or studying from home stress-free. Call or email Lee's Office Products. Stay home, Cayman. Stay safe.
Do you have questions about your water service? We've got the answer. Keep up to date with what's happening at the Water Authority by checking our website, waterauthority.ky. You can also stay up to date by following our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter page.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. The daily press briefing is still on. We'll go to it when it starts. But in the meantime, let's go to our phones and welcome this next caller. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Dream.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you today, sir? How are you?
Good,
yes, sir.
you?
Yes, sir, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about
thankfully,
you?
I'm very blessed. Excellent, man.
I
Excellent. I only wish that I could go fishing.
I know what you mean. I just ran in on the pension thing. I hear a lot of people calling. Well, there's some that's calling just suggesting that that these people shouldn't be allowed to take from their pension. Green, I beg to differ.
Okay.
The pension, what we have done over the years is we have sat down and made these pension providers. Look at how much pension providers we got in this little island. A little island that got, 60,000 people, 65,000 people, or had. And we have got so many that it's even hard to count them, pension providers. What they're doing with the money, they're gambling the money. They're putting it out there on the stock market, and they're gambling the money. It's better for people, if they got a chance of taking out $1 now, take out the maximum they can take out and put it into a good, solid bank. I think all of them that we have here, so you can name it being solid, and put it on the fixed deposit. At least they'll get some of the thing for it, but they won't be losing anything, because it is ridiculous. I know some people that take some big licks in respect to this as to how these pension these pension funds has diminished over the years. So it's better for people if they can get some of it now. But then we also got to ask ourselves another question, the flip side of this now. What about all them little people that's out there that were in the tourism industry? And they got their livelihood. We must look at their livelihood too. You think it's easy for them to transition into construction? You think it's easy for them to transition into air and everything? Some of those guys, that's all they knew. Okay, and I mean, the government done what they thought was right. They came together with members of the opposition and other elected officials, and they moved the motion and they got this thing sorted out. Yes, make people get the use of the money now in these times here. So the little man that were taking tourists out and his life being dependent on the sandbar, right? Who ain't gonna take, even if the government says, okay, y'all can go back fishing, we no longer got the restrictions on the beach. Then and who ain't gonna take thing resident? In friends, that who ain't gonna take there? So sometime before we start talking, we must think, right? Does the government have the ability to finance this crisis? They don't. Like everything. I mean, we're not like United States. You know, we just can't go and print money. You know. Okay.
But even that has a consequence, right?
Exactly. Even that has the consequences. But look at their economy compared to ours. I mean, so look at the downfall of this thing here now. Look at all the cruise ship that's not gonna be coming here where the government derives its revenue from, right? Look at a lot of things that's going to be affecting government revenue. So at the end of the day, if the government made a decision to do this, I believe that they did it. I mean, they did it with the best interest of the people. And if the people want to take this money and go and destroy it, then I believe it's said that a list would be sent to NAU or to government saying who got and what they got, and there would be a period of time that they wouldn't be allowed to come. So if you want to go there and mess yours up and drink yours out, smoke yours out the first week, then start with that then for the rest of whatever time it is. I mean, that's simple. That's just the harsh thing that you got to put with it, right? I mean, you just cannot allow these things here to you can't allow these things to people will be affected, and there are going to be some far-reaching effect. Perhaps some of these people that is against this now will come back on in 4 or 5 months' time and say, boy, I changed my mind now, you know?
Right. But let me ask you then three things, right? Separate but connected in a sense. First, this notion that the government has said if you access your, mind you, this is private sector pensions. So if you access that money, that information is going to be shared with the government, who got and how much. So that's sort of, an invasion of privacy in some people's minds. What do you make of that? Should the government know? All right, we told the press briefing is coming on. I had two other questions, but maybe tomorrow you can join us. All right. Apologies. Those are some questions we want to ask, but the press briefing is live now, so we go to that.
God is in control. Everything is going to be all right. I am Pastor Clark, pastor of the All Nations United Pentecostal Church. At this time, we're going to be praying. It is necessary that we pray for the heads of government of this country. In a time like this, when COVID-19 seems to be taking full stand across the globe, our leaders need protection. And today, as they are going into this press conference, the All Nations United Pentecostal Church, along with myself, Pastor Dalbert Clark, we want to let them know that we are with them. And so at this time, friends, I want you to pray with us across the Cayman Islands as we pray for this press conference. Our Premier, the Governor, His Excellency, all the ministers officiating in this press conference. Let us pray. Father God, we give you glory, we give you honor, we give you praise at this time. We do ask that your Shekinah glory will override the system of Satan, one who fought against you thousands of years ago in the third heaven, tried to get you out of the throne room of heaven to rule. He was kicked out and cast down to earth. He said, woe be unto the inhabitants of the earth, for Satan have come down with great wrath. We pray you preserve this land, Lord. We pray you preserve the leadership of this land. We pray you preserve, Lord God Almighty, the members of the upper echelon of the ecclesia. We pray for the political arena. Lay hands on our premier, lay hands on the governor, His Excellency, Speaker of the House, all these men who stand at this time facing coronavirus 2019. It is called COVID-19. We ask now you touch the minds of these leaders. We take full authority like Moses, the prophet, like Joshua, like Shadrach, Meshach, and again, Abednego. We take full authority right now over every force that would come against the leadership of the Cayman Islands to destroy our people. Father, I ask you right now that you stretch forth your mighty hands over 74,000 people in these three islands. Lay hands on the premier. Bring him, Lord, that high level of understanding, that high level of wisdom, that as he leaves this country, he'll feel the presence of God and do everything that is right. Cover him, cover his family. Let this nation know that you are in charge and that whatever is happening could not have happened without your permission. You might not have done evil to us, but you can allow evil to prevail just to speak to your people. Bless this nation, bless this country, bless this press conference today. Father, we commit your sons and daughters in your hands right now. Cover the leadership again of the Cayman Islands with your precious blood. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. May God richly bless you, folks. Have a great time. The All Nations Church is behind you with our prayers. God bless you.
And thank you, Pastor Clark. We now welcome our panelists, His Excellency the Governor, the Honourable Premier, and the Honourable Minister of Health. Also joining us in the studio are Dr. John Lee, the Chief Medical Officer, as well as HMCI Director, Ms. Danny Coleman, and our sign language interpreter, Ms. Carolyn Powell. We'd also like to welcome Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, the Medical Officer of Health. He's joining us via Zoom, along with members of the media. We go now to Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon. There are 208 negative results to report today, and no positives, bringing the total positive remaining the same at 70, the number of asymptomatic to 22, the number of admitted being 3 at the Health Service Authority and 2 at Health City, to 5, none of whom are requiring ventilation. And the total recovered has gone up to 10. Total number of tested currently stands at around 1,148, which includes some screening samples, which we've started the week before last. There are a couple of things that I wanted to say today. I think every community, as you can understand, requires a different approach. And the sister islands, both Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, can naturally have a different approach as they do in many different areas because of their unique situation. With this in mind, Little Cayman, this testing for Little Cayman residents will begin and should be completed this week, and we are planning in line with that to have a different approach for Cayman Brac as to Grand Cayman. Additionally to that, I wanted to reiterate the fact that I believe that masks are valuable in the prevention of the spread of COVID-19 when they're used in conjunction with the advice that you know already, to keep your hands clean, to keep distant from people, and if you have any respiratory symptoms, to use the right respiratory etiquette to stop the spread of any disease. We have not yet said at a government level that you are required to wear masks. That will be coming, I have no doubt. But in the meantime, please, will you wear a mask if you can, get hold of one in any public place. That includes supermarkets, banks, and so on and so forth. I believe that the only place you shouldn't need that when you're out in public, when you're working, as I do in this building, is when you're sitting quietly at a desk and not interacting with people. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. We're going to go straight to members of the media, beginning with Ralph from the Caymanian Times. Ralph, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Dr. Lee, and thank you for the great news. It really warms the heart. 2 questions for you regarding testing. Will an individual or company be able to request testing if they want to pick up the cost?
Not currently in the plan. What the plan is, as previously mentioned, that we would do some of the larger working population. We're likely to do a sample of the population because we're not able to test the whole population given the constraints on physically getting the tests through the equipment and the procedure at the two hospitals that are performing the test. So that's really the limitation, is how fast they can get tests through the laboratories. So we are currently pursuing a national program on this. That may change with time, but that's our current approach.
Okay. And the second question is, are outgoing passengers tested? And if not, is there a plan to test them? Maybe this could help the receiving countries cooperate in a better way.
I think we're essentially all of the different countries are managing how they receive returning, usually residents, differently, and we're doing everything we can to do what they ask of us. Clearly, if we suddenly have a request for 300 people to be tested dropped on our doorstep, it's quite difficult. And what's happening in Cayman, as you know, is we are requiring everybody to come home and self-isolate, which I think is actually a much safer approach than to test people before they go, because you still may, the moment you step on the plane, begin to get symptoms, even though the day of your test you were okay. So it's a much better approach that the receiving country should isolate people for 14 days.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we go now to Reshma from the Compass. Reshma?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Dr. Lee, is it possible you can give us a breakdown of these tests in terms of how many health workers have been tested, how many members of the public are in those results, and if these are the BA flight passengers as well?
Yes, it includes all of those, but I don't have those breakdowns just yet, Reshma. It needs us to go through an access database and run the queries. A lot of the results that I give you have not even got into that database yet, because it takes a finite length of time to transfer that information over and then to run the appropriate queries. You will be getting that information as regards these are screening tests as opposed to these are tests done for a medical reason. We're not planning currently to give you any further breakdown of which groups are in the screening tests, apart from to say we've screened this group and that group and that group and that group, and these are what the results are.
Okay, understood. You said we have 10 recovered patients. Is the Cayman Brac patient among those fully recovered patients?
No, not yet. That person is asymptomatic, but is not yet, I don't believe has not yet had the two negative tests to be in the recovered group.
Okay. Today we saw the CDC increase its symptoms for COVID-19, adding 6 new symptoms to look out for: chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, and a new loss of taste or smell. Is it possible for you to comment on the addition of these symptoms, and is it something that the public should take note of and look out for as well?
I think if you look on a lot of the websites, they will give you many more symptoms than the top 3 that we say: shortness of breath, fever, and cough. So that is only the most common. If you look at the actual breakdown of symptoms, as you say, there are a number of common symptoms that are just below those top 3, so to speak. I wouldn't disagree with that whatsoever. In our revised testing plan, any healthcare practitioner can request a test for anybody they wish to. If they feel there is any clinical suspicion whatsoever, they have COVID-19, so they're not restricted to any particular symptoms.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lee.
Hey, Dr. Lee, we're going to go now to Wendy from CNS. Wendy?
Thanks, Donna. Yeah, can I just check with Dr. Lee what his target is for the number of tests that they'd like to do per day in order to get a real idea of what's going on? So what's his sort of target?
I don't have a target. I'd love them to be able to do as many as they could, Wendy, but there's physical limitations to this. So they're limited in the the speed with which they can test people by actually swabbing them, that process, and obviously we are understanding that there's limits to what can go through the laboratory. So, but we are really well placed in Cayman in order to do a lot of testing. If you can imagine that both the labs can do up to 100 a day, that's 1,000 people a week. So we can do a lot. Looking around at different regions, we're doing a lot more than a lot of other countries of similar sorts of sizes and abilities to ours. It didn't really answer your question directly, but it sort of gave a bit more of an explanation.
Okay. Can I just clarify as well, just in case, because we've just had a few people raise the issue that they say that they've requested a test because they're suffering, or their physician has said that they're suffering from symptoms, and yet they've been refused. Can you confirm that isn't the case?
I can't confirm that. It's very likely that it has been the case, because we have been following the WHO guidelines, which have said that if you don't meet certain criteria, then you won't get tested. However, we've in the new protocols that are going forward, that is much more loose and more open. Unfortunately, there's no value in going back. Let's say somebody had symptoms that they feel were relevant 2 weeks ago. There's not much value in going back as to test that. Those people now, they're very likely to be negative.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Lee, finally we go to April from Radio Cayman. April?
Thank you, Donna. Dr. Lee, just wanted to clarify, make sure I understand. You talked about a different approach for the sister islands. Could you just explain a little bit about what you mean by a different approach? Yes,
I think essentially because they're physically and geographically isolated, and they have opted to do that, and anybody that's going to the sister islands needs to undergo a period of isolation before they travel to the sister islands. Because they have this isolation, we're talking about isolation all the time. They're in fact self-isolated as a larger group. So it's the intention that if there is no evidence that there is COVID-19 on Little Cayman and moving along as well on Cayman Brac, that we may be able to relax the restrictions earlier there than on Grand Cayman. But we are moving to that on Grand Cayman as well. As you know, it's just with the larger population. It'll take a little bit more time, and it'll take longer for us to collect the evidence in order to inform our decisions. And that's what we're trying to do, to get evidence in terms of testing in order to inform the decisions that we take.
Thank you.
Dr. Lee, I do have one question from the public. The cases that have been confirmed community transmission, how is progress being made on any contact tracing, or are there any similarities that we know about with those persons who we can't confirm, otherwise?
I don't entirely follow the question.
Okay, no problem. So there are a number of cases where we know that there's been community transmission cases. How is progress being made on contact tracing, on tracing the contacts? And are there any similarities, if we have been doing that and we're finding, similarities in maybe their movements, places that they went, to bring us closer to?
So, I mean, the contact tracing is relatively straightforward process for whoever it would be, and it usually, the large majority of it is concluded within the space of about a day once you're able to go and speak to that person, and then you're able to speak to the next sort of ring around that person of the contacts. We have been, even in a number of the cases which I have said were community acquired, we have had a suspicion that there was a relationship to a travel event, but it's not been sufficiently direct, or we haven't been sufficiently able to prove it to say, but that hasn't been invariably the case. So even in some that we think were not so good, we think actually maybe it wasn't as local as we think.
Okay, well, that's good news then. All right, now we're going to move to the panel, beginning with our Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Donna. Hello, everyone. Very good news today. 208 negatives, no positives. But I don't want any of us to get carried away by that. Dr. Lee is sometimes less than forthcoming. with information until he's absolutely sure. But we have some 600 tests or samples in the testing process. I would be happy beyond belief if it were to be that there were no positives in that, but I doubt that is the case. I still believe that we are going to find positives as we go along with this broader testing. But I think all indications are that there is not widespread community transmission, but we are still going to pick up positives. So, as I say, let's not get too carried away yet that we have succeeded. If we look around the world, what's happened and what is happening, I think we can get good counsel, good guidance from as to what to do and what not to do. And the countries that have gone too quickly to reopen have, in every case, invariably have had to lock back down because the virus comes back with a vengeance. We are determined not to let that happen here. I say again, although there are a significant number of detractors about this particular point, is that we are following essentially the same model as New Zealand, pursuing elimination as a strategy. Elimination as opposed to eradication. Elimination doesn't mean that there will not be any cases here at all, but that we'll be in a position where we can quickly identify where they are and close them down by testing, isolating, and tracing. And we now have, or we will once we get the extractor kits from the UK, which are coming in on the flight, Governor, tomorrow, we'll be in a position where we can test as much as the human resources and the machines can actually take to make sure this happens. So we are going to progress with we are increasingly optimistic. We'll start to be able to reopen aspects of the economy. Dr. Lee spoke about Little Cayman and Cayman Brac. We actually have the ability to essentially test or sample everybody in Little Cayman in one day and run the test fairly quickly. And as long as the borders in Little Cayman are kept closed after that, assuming they're all negative, then we can essentially say Little Cayman is COVID-19 free. Cayman Brac, obviously the population is bigger, but it is, I think, reasonably possible for us to reduce the risks there sufficiently that we can release many of the restrictions which are currently in place there. It is going to take longer, as Dr. Lee alluded to do that in Grand Cayman. But the current shelter-in-place order expires on Friday. We are hoping that if the test results continue on the current trajectory, that we will be able to make some significant changes in the shelter-in-place provisions and be able to allow a number of activities which are currently restricted or prohibited to recommence. I'm not going to get people's hopes up yet because today is just Monday by going through what that list is. But basically the analysis that is going on is about which are the areas that pose the least risk based on, A, the number of people who are or will be engaged in that activity and the proximity with which they have to operate in relation to other persons. So that work is going on. My caucus will meet at 4 this afternoon, and we'll have a cabinet meeting later in the week to make some of those decisions. But we are increasingly optimistic about the way things are going on that particular front. The Postal Service, or the lack thereof, over the course of the past 4 or 5 weeks, we know has proven a great challenge and source of inconvenience to many people. We've taken that on board, along with the growing optimism about the the tests. And as a result, I can announce today that on Wednesday, beginning on Wednesday, the 29th, this week, government will reopen a single post office on each island for 2 days a week. The post offices that will reopen are as follows: Grand Cayman, the airport post office; Cayman Brac, West End post office; and Little Cayman, the Little Cayman post office. Opening days and hours will be the same for all three islands. Wednesdays for persons with surnames and businesses with names starting with A to K, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursdays for persons with surnames and businesses with names starting with L to Z, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Services available during the 2 days post offices are open will include domestic mail service, sale of stamps, postbox rental payments. The airport post office can accept payments for boxes at any post office. West End post office can accept for any Cayman Brac or Little Cayman post box. Utility bill payments. Postmaster General Sheena Glasgow notes that where post offices remain closed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, work will continue to sort mail into relevant post boxes each week. Even though public counters are closed, customers have been able to and are allowed to collect posts and mail from external boxes on any day that they are allowed out of their homes. That is A to K, Monday to Wednesday, Friday, and L to Z, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Going forward, those who need access to post boxes inside the general post office should email CIPS customer care at gov.ky, CIPS customer care at gov.ky, or call or WhatsApp 345-916-6535. Call or WhatsApp 345-916-6535 to make arrangements to access their postbox on a Wednesday or a Thursday. That's it for me today.
All right, thank you, Premier McLaughlin. Your Excellency.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I mean, first of all, those results are really encouraging, so that's really good to hear that. I want today just to focus on the question of evacuation flights. I think you all know we've been working very hard on this. It is challenging, but we have made some good progress in the last couple of days, and I want to announce some flights today. So first of all, Honduras. We have succeeded in agreeing a flight to Honduras, which will be early next week to La Ceiba. Details of how to book and the cost per passenger will be announced tomorrow, and there's no need to call the emergency travel helpline for this one. We will be allowing a small number of Caymanians and PR status holders who are looking to get back to Cayman to come back on that flight, and they will, as everybody else, be required to go into government isolation facility for 14 days. Passengers going to Honduras have to ensure they have a medical certificate confirming that they are free from COVID-19 symptoms. So that's not a test, that's simply a doctor's note certificate saying you don't have symptoms. And the Honduras government have asked us to let people know that many of the islands are closed off, and people going on that flight may need to remain in La Ceiba until further notice. The flight to Mexico that I mentioned last week has been changed to Friday, the 1st of May. Passengers on that flight are those from a pre-approved list from the Mexican government and will be contacted directly by Cayman Airways over the course of today and tomorrow. That is an outbound flight only. Nobody will be coming back in on that flight. Delighted to say as well that we've made really good progress with the BA flight tomorrow, which is now full going out. So if you are interested in future flights to go to the UK, please continue to register with the online tool that we announced last week. We have also been able to get a number of nationalities onto that flight, including 40 Filipino nationals, and we've succeeded with UK Border Force in working out the transit visa arrangements. So that's also a good signal for the future. On Miami, both flights to Miami on Friday, the 1st of May, are now full. And I'm also pleased to announce a flight to Canada. A Canadian citizen, Nicole Poirier, is working on a private charter to Toronto in the second half of May, which will allow pets an additional baggage allowance. The cost is 1,300 Canadian dollars. If you're interested in that flight, please contact Nicole directly, and details are on social media pages. And I'm also pleased to announce that discussions are underway with Costa Rica and Dominican Republic, and we expect to be able to announce flights to both those destinations next week, with details of cost and how to book to be announced shortly. I also just want to say a huge thank you to the honorary consuls in Cayman for they're working very closely with us on all of this, and we're very grateful for your help and what you're doing for your nationals. Also, a big shout out to Fabian Worms and all his people at Cayman Airways, who are also working extremely hard on this, as is Albert Anderson and everybody at the Airport Authority. And in my own team, Maria, Simone, Lisa and Jill, who are working incredibly hard on this as well. We do recognise that a lot of people want to leave the islands, and we're doing everything we can to help those that do want to go to do so. But commercial flights are going to remain closed. They're closed for May. I imagine that it will be for the foreseeable future that they are closed. So if you do want to take advantage of these flights, please do so now. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Minister Seymour.
Thank you, Donna. Good news on those flights there, Governor, the special Honduras one there. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone in Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman, and our Caymanian diaspora listening in. Today we fight on against COVID-19, and we can win against this giant of a disease once we are on one accord. There's an old African proverb that says, when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. Imagine that. Today's scripture reading comes from Proverbs 26, 24 to 26. Enemies disguise themselves with their lips, but in their hearts they harbor deceit. Though their speech is charming, do not believe them, for 7 abominations will fill their hearts. Their malice may be concealed by deception, but their wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. I want to give a shout out to the DART organization for all they're doing, their employees, and at this time, and committing to invest and also committing to help us rebuild after this COVID-19 ends. We thank you for all that you're doing. Believe me, I understand how impolitic this is to be reading scriptures at a press conference. Trust me, I know. And whenever someone tries to do something spiritual in a nation, the attacks come from everywhere and almost anything. Did I choose to do this, or was I chosen to do it? The first evidence that you are in assignment is the battle that you attract. So I understand that the secret to victory is to continue in assignment. Just remember that when a flood comes, the fish eat the ants. And when the flood recedes, the ant eat the fish. It's only a matter of time. Today, I want to recognize all the laboratory workers and their efforts to keep all of the labs running, even during the busiest time as they work to ensure not only the COVID lab work is complete, but also the regular ongoing lab results, which is crucial in the healthcare setting in the detection, diagnosis, and treatment of disease. I thank you for all your hard work behind the scenes, and I acknowledge the risks that the laboratory professionals are taking to serve patients, and in particular during the pandemic, and appreciate the measures they take to mitigate risks to their colleagues and community. It is also my pleasure to announce that the blood bank has now opened a secondary satellite location at the Red Cross on Huldah Avenue across from the cricket pitch. They accepted their first donors last week and will have appointments available at this location on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's at the Red Cross on Huldah Avenue across from the cricket pitch. On Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. can make appointments to be a blood donor. All appointments can be made on www.bloodbank.ky or by calling 244-2674. The blood bank at the Cayman Islands Hospital will still be the primary location for blood donations. As a reminder, COVID-19 is not a blood-borne disease. Therefore, it is safe to donate and accept blood. However, if you have recently been sick, it is not recommended you donate for at least 2 weeks. There is more information on bloodbank.ky regarding this. Keeping up our national blood supply is crucial during this time, and encourage those who are eligible to donate, as this is another way to help save lives in our community. Special shout out today to Davenport Development for their donation of 7,000 KN95 masks to the Health Services Authority. Thank you, Davenport. This donation is greatly appreciated to help protect our healthcare staff and patients during this time. It humbles me to see the various organizations in the private sector supporting our healthcare system and frontline workers during this time. For organizations who would like to support the HSA, please email covid19@hsa.ky. Further to that, I am pleased to say that I have received positive reports from the Department of Environmental Health on the assistance given by workers through the Second Chance program. That program, which began just over a year ago, assists offenders with the reintegration into society by offering job placements within the community. DEH has been extended a forum for these workers to fill gaps with trash collection and disposal and assisting in cleanup efforts of specific public spaces. These Second Chance workers have recently been deployed in West Bay, engaging in the cleanup of the litter in the Barkers area. Wild checks on specific trash-prone areas take place regularly. The cleanup has been slowed recently. This is due to the added pressure DEH is experiencing with a smaller crew and having to designate key staff to high-priority areas daily. The DEH team has, however, assures the public that the deployment of the Second Chance workers for the department has been better able to address these areas. I share with you a few words of gratitude from two persons enrolled in the Second Chance program. One gentleman said, "So far working for DEH has been challenging, but it gives me a chance to grow in different areas of this work. I will continue to do my best, and I thank all the foremen I have worked under because they have been so welcoming and never ever made me feel like a failure." That's so important. Another gentleman said, "I know this work on the truck is good for me. Getting back into society and having this job, I am now able to earn my own money and support myself, to focus on myself and building a goal for myself." We want to thank everyone in the Second Chance cohort for their time and dedication, and we appreciate that they are helping to keep our society healthy during this unprecedented crisis. You're all important to the DEH team, and we continue to wish you well in your reintegration into society. Good luck, and thank you. We also want to thank members of the public who have reported a need for cleaning trash in certain areas, and we will continue to work with the public to ensure we keep our islands as clean as possible. Finally, DEH has noted a new trend that is impacting many other countries lately that if not careful, disposing of COVID-19 suspected trash. Specifically, there are more and more instances of personal protective equipment, like masks and gloves, being strewn about the global landscape. We are once again asking the public for its continued support and encourage everyone to familiarize themselves with the guidelines of disposing trash correctly. And I ask you, please do not litter. Remember, we're all in this together. Please stay home, stay safe. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Minister Seymour. We're going to go straight to the media, beginning with April from Radio Cayman.
Good afternoon, everyone. This question is for Your Excellency, and I'm glad I'm remote so you don't throw a shoe at me. But any progress on flights to Jamaica? And also, could you tell the public a little bit about the criterion for adding additional flights as we can for people who are leaving the country? Is there a minimum threshold in terms of the number of people, for example, to the U.S., et cetera?
I think firstly on Jamaica, discussions are underway. I think there's not much advantage in going beyond that today. In terms of criteria for further flights, if demand is there, we will do everything we can to lay on additional flights. So if people have contacted the travel helpline to register an interest in going, we'll then use that as data to work out which flights we need to arrange.
And Your Excellency, just a quick follow-up, there's an online form that we've seen going around on social media, and that is just the equivalent of the call to the hotline?
Yes, you can telephone the helpline, but there is also a form that you can use to input your details and your situation. So I think we're encouraging people to use that form, because if we get huge volumes of telephone calls, it's harder to manage than having the information via email.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We go now to Reshma from the Cayman Compass.
Thank you, Donna. Governor, this question is for you. We've seen reports of Philippines Air running repatriation flights from New York. Are there any plans to have Cayman Airways run any flights to use that as a connection gateway for residents, Filipinos who are resident here who need to get home? And the second part to that question is, are there any avenues being looked at to assist these workers who may be cash-strapped at this point in time and want to get home?
And certainly we're aware of that possibility, and we are in touch with the Philippine authorities, particularly through our embassy in Manila as well. So that is something which is being explored, but it does take time to sort of pull these together. But I think having shown we can use the London route is also, I think, really welcome news. I think if people don't have the funds for those flights, clearly some people will want to go back to their employer and have discussions with their employer about whether there's any assistance there. I think later this week there will be announcements about the private sector funds that we have mentioned, and that may also be another possible avenue for helping people in distress.
Okay, thank you. This question is for the Health Minister. I don't know if you can possibly share the number of people who are in the Second Chances program that have been given the opportunity for employment with the DEH.
I don't have the exact number. I think it's about 10, but I can get the correct number for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This question is for the Premier. Last week we saw this CDC announce an amnesty for overstayers. Do you have any numbers for us? How many people have taken up that amnesty, participated in that amnesty, and what would be your message to people who now find themselves in that category of overstaying due to job loss and the current situation with the tourism industry?
I don't have any numbers. But as we've said before, even before the formal amnesty was declared, we're not about seeking to penalize people for the current situation that they find themselves in with respect to their immigration status in these islands. So the amnesty has been provided to allow people to regularize their position or to leave the island if that's what they're able and wish to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go to Wendy from CNS. Wendy, please go ahead with your questions.
Thank you, Donna. My question, first of all, is for the Premier. I want to clarify the situation on the postal service. Is the mail still being sorted at the moment and going into people's boxes? Because a lot of people seem to think it wasn't.
No, all of that is being resumed.
Right. So as well as opening the post office for 2 days a week, mail will now from Wednesday onwards be sorted and put back in people's boxes, so they can just go. They don't actually have to go to the post office. They can actually just go get their mail from their box now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. There'll be a lot of happy people on the island. The next question is, I'm not sure whether the panel can necessarily do anything about it, but it's certainly going to pose a problem for us. We're hearing that some of the pension companies, their websites are down and their phone lines are down, and so people cannot access the forms and the information they need to trigger their pension withdrawal. And some are saying that it's going to be over a week, and so they're adding to this the time before people get their checks, if you understand what I mean. So is that 45 days in the law, 45 days regardless? So even if a pension company is saying, oh, well, we can't do it in that time because our technical things are crashing, will the law still ensure that they have to find a way?
Yes, ma'am. So the law, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm taking a little risk here going on my fallible memory. But the law now requires that they have to acknowledge receipt of the application within 7 days and respond yea or nay within 14. And if the response is yea, to actually have a check ready in 45 days. So the 45 days is total time. It's not adding 7 or 14 to the 45.
Okay, so the only problem is, though, if they can't physically get through to anybody for weeks, where does that leave them?
Well, I don't see how that...
If you've got a situation... One of the pension companies is saying it's going to be at least a week before they can get their email system and get their systems back up and running. So people can't even send in that email to get that first acknowledgement. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, well, if they can't get through by email, they should try to send deliver a hard copy round.
Okay.
But if there are issues like this, I would hope that they would write to the director of the Department of Labor and Pensions and make these complaints so that we can follow them up. I mean, there really is no good reason, I think, why email systems should be down.
Okay, great. Talking of which, people are saying that they're having real difficulties getting through to work as well, and there are a myriad amount of questions that people keep asking about that. And so, rather than bore everybody to death by asking them on here, is there some way that you can advise on how people can get through to get those questions answered?
No, I haven't had that complaint. I would expect that people would get through to work in the usual way, through email or through a phone number, but I'll make an inquiry directly following this to find out if there are, in fact, issues relating to communication.
Okay, great. Thank you, because we get a lot of that. A more specific question, obviously, I know you're not going to want to tell us any of the possible restriction lifting that might happen for next week, but can you give us an idea if government now has formed a phased policy plan that it will begin to roll out in the coming weeks? I'm not asking you to necessarily go into detail, but just to reassure people that there is something on paper that you're hoping to be able to follow, and maybe a sort of broad picture, shape of that picture.
Okay, if the camera will look at this, we do have a plan. It's subject to discussion, amendment, adjustment, agreement by caucus, but we've been working at it for quite some time, actually, and it is contingent upon how well the results pan out. And there are triggers, or points when we will be able to trigger various phases of it. As I say, it's based on assessed risk. So the more test results that we get, the better impression we have about where the virus is in the community and how much of it is, the prevalence of it, and we're able to make decisions. But principally, we go slowly. We reopen areas where there is the minimal risk of person-to-person contact. That's essentially what we're concerned about.
Thank you. And I have some questions for the Health Minister. We've had a lot of people asking about, I know things are tight already with collections and it's going to be challenging and difficult, but is there any way that maybe the department could take on extra hands and help remove the waste, the garden waste in particular, that's building up in people's yards?
The guard waste.
Garden, green, foliage, leaves. People are clearing their own yards and they can't take the garbage to the dump. So they're asking if there's any chance of like a bulk cleanup.
Landscaping waste.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, something for consideration. And they just took on 10 extra staff for COVID-19, and they have 2 second chance persons in the program, as just confirmed by the director. But that's something for us to consider. I'll speak with the director and let him assess the situation.
Thank you. Also, are you able to comment on whether there's any truth to the story on Mile Road about a family member of yours managing to get their personal trainer to come and visit them?
Well, first of all, you would have to be brave enough to ask that kind of question. I don't know who would be that stupid, but I can tell you a story of Joseph and Mary when Mary was pregnant and was still a virgin, and everybody laughed at Joseph, but he turned out to be the best story ever. And also Jesus chose to ride a donkey, a jackass, instead of getting a horse. I hope that answers it.
No, not really.
Okay, Wendy, do you have any further questions? If not, we're going to move on for now.
Okay, so that's no comment then from the Minister.
May I suggest maybe you could take it offline with the minister and to be able to get the answers to your questions, and then be able to do a story from there, Wendy.
How silly.
So that we can move on.
Okay.
I do have a few questions from the public.
Foolishness.
As it relates to the pensions. Premier McLaughlin, the pension holiday, does this apply to, because it doesn't say so in the regulations or the law, does this apply to public servants, in other words, persons who work for statutory authorities and government-owned companies? Because they put into private pension companies, are they able to, are they going to be able to take advantage of the pension holiday?
No, members of statutory authorities and government-owned companies are public servants. Public servants are expressly exempted from the provisions of the legislation. So, if Cayman Airways has a pension scheme with Silver Thatch, to which money is contributed on behalf of the employer and on behalf of the employee, that continues.
Okay, thank you. Also, any dates on, I know they're going through putting the application process and what have you together, but the public wants to know if there's any clear date as to when those applications will be available so that they can start applying. Also, when it comes to issuing of checks, I know we're going further ahead here, but will a collection of checks and so forth from these pension providers be on your last name date only? That kind of organizing. Like I said, it's way ahead of things here, but you know.
You mean the collection of them?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know. I certainly haven't thought that far ahead with respect to that. I actually don't know. It's a very good question. I don't know what when the application form, because the application form is prescribed by the Director of Labor and Pensions, the terms of it. I'm not sure when that is available. I'm not even sure if the law has actually come into effect yet, because it was only passed on Thursday. So it would not, in the normal process, there would be a process down at the LA, then there'd be a consideration of the law and a certificate essentially issued to His Excellency the Governor that it is constitutional. before he assents to it and before it's gazetted. So all of those things should happen fairly early this week. But the question about when the form will be available is a good one. I'll check and see when it is expected that will be available.
Okay.
But the law is not yet in effect.
Right. Okay. One final question on that. As it relates to core civil servants who may have worked in the private sector beforehand, are they eligible to apply?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay, because there's a lot of confusion. Public servants, civil servants. I try to explain to people.
So if you worked for Foster's, sorry to use your name, but the first one that come to mind. If you worked for Foster's for some time and you contributed to your pension plan at Silver Thatch or wherever it is, and you left Foster's and you came and joined the public service, and you are now either the central public service or the civil service or a statutory authority or government-owned company. You are a public servant,
right?
Correct. But the law only applies or only prohibits or exempts public servants with respect to a pension account, which is being contributed to as a result of your employment in the public service.
I got it. I hope everybody else has gotten it. But yes, thank you very much for clarifying that for me. Okay, so we're going to move now to Ralph. Ralph, sorry I went ahead of you there, but you have a few questions for the panel. Please go ahead.
Yes, that's fine. And good afternoon. My questions are for the Premier, first of all, and thank you for the good news today. It really warms my heart, and I think we're making progress, and the future is going to look bright. You answered one of my questions. It was, have the pension law been gazetted? So thank you for answering that. And the second question is, do you have an idea how many residents have left on those repatriation flights? So it's just a rough idea.
No, it's a good question, Ralph. In fact, we will provide some data on that, but we don't have a figure today. But we'll try and pull that together for a future press conference.
Just so we're clear, you mean the ones since we actually closed the airport?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay.
Okay, and then one final question. I said I had two. One more. Is the opening of the beaches in that list that you just showed us?
No, I'm afraid not. And I know this is a very sore point with many people. But anyone who is being fair about this will know that for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, I in particular pleaded with people to be reasonable about how they operated on the beaches so as not to exacerbate the risk of community transmission of the virus. We got lots of beaches. They're long. They can be very busy. It became impossible for the police to be able to properly monitor what was happening on the beaches. And that's where we came to that point following Good Friday that we closed the beaches. It is not going to be possible for the police to properly police the beaches. We've come to that conclusion. By way of the way people behaved over the course of the past few weeks on the beaches. So until we reach a point where we believe it is reasonably safe for people to gather in clusters, we're not going to be able to reopen the beaches. I hope that point comes sooner rather than later. But believe you me, we're all petitioned daily because it does operate unfairly for the majority of people who behave perfectly reasonably and who bear in mind the reasons for the restrictions in the first place. But what we cannot risk after all of the sacrifices that all of us have collectively made to get Cayman to this point is for people to have a nice time on the beach for one weekend, and then 2 weeks later, the hospital is overrun with patients with COVID-19 symptoms. So until we are at a position where we are reasonably safe that there isn't a lot of the virus flying around, we're not going to be able to reopen the beaches. I know I'm the bearer of very, very bad news. I'm probably going to be the receiver of some hate mail, but but that is the reality.
Yeah. If I may comment, sir, I don't think you're the bearer of bad news. You're just being very realistic. And I think most people that we've spoken to and surveyed agree with you that there's some sacrifices to be made, and maybe swimming in the beautiful turquoise waters, just one of them. And I think life comes first. That's all for me for today.
I'll throw this bone. One of the first things that we believe we can reopen will be pool service for those that have pools. I know that's doesn't go a long way. There are many people who don't have pools, but that's also been a very, very sore point which we deal with every single day.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. We go back now to April from Radio Cayman.
Thank you, Donna. Mr. Premier, two quick questions. One, has there been any thought, and this came from a listener, to doing kind of an audit of the situation with work permit holders across the country and whether the terms of their permits are being honored as they should be? And then I've got to find the other question, but that was the primary one, I think.
I suppose lots of thought, but people have been very, very busy doing other things, just trying to keep this place running and businesses from collapsing. So no audit has been done at this stage. I think what has happened now finally is that most of the hospitality industry folk have come to understand and appreciate that it is unlikely we're going to have a tourist season the rest of this year. And so a lot of them are trying to get home. A lot of the businesses have accepted that reality. And I think in the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4, we'll have a much clearer idea how many people are still remaining here on work permit. But understand that while there are good reasons why people want to go home and good reasons why, if you don't have a job, we prefer that you're not here. But the lack of people here is going to have a significant impact on the local economy over and above the work that they used to do. Because when people are here, they have to eat, they have to pay rent, they have to live like everybody else. And there are businesses that rely on their consumption of these goods and services to survive. So there are going to be very lean times, leaner times as a result of significant numbers of people having left and still more going to leave. So we have to balance that against the understandable and legitimate concern that such jobs as they are here, to the extent that Caymanians are willing and able to do them, the Caymanians ought to have first choice. But remember that our entire system has been based on consumption, including government's revenues. So with the loss of significant thousands of people, we are all going to be in for much leaner times.
Mr. Premier, thank you for that. One more, and this was just a follow-up to something you mentioned earlier. You talked about sort of the plan, and I just wondered whether the private sector had any feedback or involvement in sort of the establishment of that. I mean, I've heard some talk of, people writing lobbying letters and that sort of stuff, but I just wondered whether private sector had any sort of weigh-in on the plan for, economic.
Oh, yes, private sector. We is in regularly. Believe you me, we have literally hundreds of pieces of correspondence of people's views and concerns and what they think ought to go first and how they ought to go first. But we've also had very continue to have very constructive discussions with various aspects of the economy. Representation from various industries, but also from some of the bigger businesses and so forth that employ many people. So we have a broad cross-section of representation with respect to what we're doing, and nothing is carved in stone. As you've seen, the way we've gone about the shelter-in-place provisions, we we're willing to tweak things, adjust things, depending on circumstances. And as I say, the principal thing that we bear in mind always, though, in terms of making these assessments is what is the risk? Does this significantly increase the risk of community transmission or not? So that's really been the principal guiding factor with respect to the decisions we make.
Thank you very much.
Okay, April, before we go to Reshma, I do have one question for His Excellency. Your Excellency, you talked about the flight to Honduras. There are several Caymanians who are on the Bay Islands of Honduras and Roatan that have no way of getting over to the main island and the capital of, well, not the capital, but La Ceiba.
La Ceiba, yeah.
And they're very concerned. They want to come home. Is there any way that they can reach out to talk about this need? I mean, I've personally tried to explain that, you know, the government of Honduras has to allow for them to come over to La Ceiba. But is there anything that you could say to that?
I mean, I think contact the travel helpline so we at least know the situation, but clearly we're dependent on the situation in Honduras. So there's obviously a limit to what we can do from here, but we can certainly make representations on behalf of individuals, but ultimately this is a matter for the Honduras authorities.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Reshma?
Thank you, Donna. This is a kind of housekeeping question. Can you say, Governor, how soon we can expect your signature on the recent law changes to give effect to people being able to access their pensions? Or if it has already been done, you can forgive me.
I missed. Was that for me?
Yes.
Yes.
When your signature will be on that new law.
The second it hits my desk.
How soon can we expect that process? If maybe the Premier can tell us
shortly.
When is it going to head over? Because as you know, there are lots of people who are quite anxious to get that ball rolling.
That's not in my hands, I'm afraid. We passed the law. The process has to take its course. It has to go through the clerk. It has to go through the AG. And we wait on the governor to sign it and to be gazetted. So, but it's only a matter of days. I mean, it'll be sometime this week. Early this week, I would expect.
Okay, great. Good news for those who are seeking pension access. Thank you very much. That's all from me today.
All right, Reshma, thank you very much. We're going to go to the panel now for any final comments.
Well, I want one shout out to our children and the students who are holding it down and still doing their school work and helping their parents at home. You are appreciated by the panel, the Premier, the Governor, the government. We appreciate what you're doing. Thank you to the children and students.
Okay.
So on behalf of my ministry and indeed on behalf of the government and the Department of Children and Family Services in particular, want to thank Foster's Group for donating phones to the seniors in residential care. That allows them to keep in contact with their family because now, of course, visiting is prohibited. So thanks very much, Foster's.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do have a reminder from the Commissioner of Police, who's not with us today. He says that he's advising the public that the hard curfew remains in effect from 7 p.m. tonight, of course, till 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. During the curfew hours, only essential personnel on duty are exempted. All other persons are required to remain indoors at home during curfew hours. Public beaches remain in full lockdown until Friday the 1st, 5 a.m. Police mobile and static patrols, he says, will remain in place across the islands to enforce the curfew and shelter-in-place regulations. Again, that reminder coming from the Commissioner of Police. Before we go, again, a reminder to go online to gov.ky/coronavirus for answers to your questions. If you have any e-services business to take care of, you can go online to eservices.gov.ky. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's made today's press briefing possible, of course, to our panel, the public, the listening and viewing public, and we invite you to join us here again tomorrow. Please stay tuned as we show you the statistics on the regional and world coronavirus cases.